Thank you for joining us. My name is Linda Chambers.
This is the Volunteer Spotlight, and I'm your host and lead audio technician, Evan Starnes. And this month is a little out of the ordinary because we are releasing 2 episodes, mainly because our last Volunteer of the Month for May, Tom McMillan, interview came out a little late, and then because I'm the one editing the show, I've had a lot of stuff just kind of coming up technically that I've had to fix, so I simply haven't had the time to devote to editing that show, hence why we've had a little bit of a delay. But like I said, I think we're back on top of stuff now, and I'm very happy about that because I've missed doing this podcast. It's been a lot of fun. It's a good way for me as the audio tech to get to know more about our volunteers, and it's really fun I really do feel like volunteers, at least the folks I've talked to in the past, do really like the aspect of just sharing a bit about themselves, the fact that you guys aren't talking heads in front of a microphone. And that being said, if you do enjoy this show and you get value out of it, spread the word about it. Share it with your friends, your family, your puppies, whoever, you think might be a good volunteer or just wants to, is a little curious. It's a good way to kind of educate folks about what we do here at Aftersight. The Volunteer of the Month for June is Linda Chambers, so congratulations, Linda. She is the reader of the Grand Junction Sentinel and is joining me under the spotlight today. So welcome to Volunteer Spotlight, Linda. How's your morning treating you so far?
It's great, and I really appreciate it, and I feel privileged that I am part of Aftersight.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on. I always like to start these shows off with some fun kind of getting to know you questions, but what do you really enjoy when it comes to like listening to audio and, content? What do you like to listen to the most if you could listen to just one thing for the rest of your life? Music, podcasts, audiobooks, or maybe something I didn't mention?
Music. That's all I listen to most of the time.
What's your favorite genre?
Well, being a general music teacher for 35 years, in the public school system, I don't have a favorite genre because I got to talk about all of the genres, and there's so much good stuff about all of them.
Absolutely.
I do have trouble with some of the modern, the things that our young people are listening to. It's kind of repetitive, but there's stuff in there that's good. One of the things that disappointed me when I dwelt in with some of the new music genres is how some of the singers, they voice enhance so that they sound better. And that to me is not true. If your voice is not good enough to do it, then find some other way to perform so that it can. But to have a mechanical device enhance your voice so that you sound good on TV or you sound good on a recording, it's kind of like cheating, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it takes the human out of your music.
Right. And if you don't have the voice, it's sometimes, you listen to some of the old songs from the recordings from the 30s and 40s, it's really some of the voices you're going, oh my gosh, and how people like that? But yet, that was what the sound was.
Well, and the modernization of everything and the ability to auto-tune I think it's raised the bar for people's expectations now. And it put into perspective, like you hear some singers like, you can hardly sing or hardly hold a note, but yet, you make some really good music. It's kind of the matter of like, find an instrument that you can play more of.
Right. And there's always, I was at a conference and it was down in the Four Corners area. And I was talking to this one girl, and her voice was really different. And I talked to her about it, and she said that it took her 5 years to develop that particular vocal sound because she wanted to have a unique sound. It took her 5 years to make her voice good at it. And it was good. Mm-hmm. I loved her voice. That's why I was talking to her, because her singing voice. Now, her speaking voice was just normal, but her singing voice was so different. And it was really unique. But she said she worked 5 years to develop that skill with her voice.
Mhm.
And I was just amazed. So, you can do things if you don't, even if you can't hold a pitch, there's so many ways you can do your own voice without the auto thing going on.
Exactly.
I just, we just need more people who are more confident in themselves, I think.
I agree, and less reliant on technology. And it's why we don't and will never use any computer-generated voices on our programming, period. And kind of speaking of being a music teacher, I was actually reading in your email, you play quite a lot of instruments too, actually.
Not really. I mean, I've self-taught. I was a pianist, and I love accompanying. I love accompanying groups and people who sing, and instruments too. I just love to do that. When I lived in Boulder, I did a lot of that in Boulder, in the community and with my church there in Boulder. But we moved out here, so I had to find a new group set. So that meant I had to get a little bit better proficient on the guitar and the ukulele, which I just love the ukulele. And then I'm dabbling in bass guitar, just dabbling. But, of course, it's fun to me, playing instruments and playing songs and singing. It's just fun.
That's how it should be.
Yes, it should be.
If it isn't fun, you're not doing it right, or maybe you should find something that you do enjoy, because
right. And
that's just maybe that my opinion.
Well, so many studies have shown that music is, just good for your soul, and your soul happens to be your heart or whatever's in, your conscience, whatever else you want to call it. But music is good. And my oldest son, who is a teacher now, he used to whistle when he was little. And I read somewhere that whistling is a sign of happiness, and he is a happy person.
Oh, I whistle all the time, so I guess I'm happy.
Yeah, and that's the studies have shown whistling is when somebody
That's
just whistles, they're happy. My mother loved to whistle. And she would she would be whistling. That's what my son does too. He just starts whistling, and
just casually.
Yeah, it's just something they do. Like for me, I hum, and that's my whistle, I guess.
I catch myself doing it, and I'm like, I guess I guess I'm in some good mood.
It is, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think music too, as a whole, is a second language. I call it a second language or a language.
It is. Well, it's an international language, because no matter where you go in the world, there's
music.
Right. And if people don't can't speak your language, and you can't speak their language, you start playing a song, and by golly, they'll either sing along with you in their language, or they'll start playing an instrument along with you. It's just an international language that is for everyone. And you cannot sit back and say, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. Well, it doesn't matter. Who's going to put a bucket up and listen for a tune, You just sing, and if it comes out bad for somebody else's ears, that's okay. It makes you feel good, you sing. Yes.
Yep. And as long as it gives you that feeling.
That's right. It's the feeling that you get from it. And you don't have to sing. Humming is fine. Beating a rhythm on your leg is fine, stuff.
Tapping your foot. Like I tap my foot all the time to music.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a way of feeling good.
Indeed.
And I'm sure there's other people. There's sports people who say that sports makes them feel good, but what are they doing when they're doing that sports? They're listening to music.
Oh, yeah. And there's so much music in sports to pump you up.
Oh, my gosh, yes. So sports is important for some people. It is really important, and I'm very active myself. But music is there in the sports as well.
In fact, I think regardless of whatever hobby that you desire, that you pick, there is always going to be some way, even if you have to think really creatively outside of the box, to tie music into it.
Well, even your vehicles have a steady rhythm, a steady beat, and when they don't, you need to take them in and have them checked.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a sewing machine. And even like the chimes and startup melodies, especially that a lot of the modern day vehicles play, I mean, it's kind of it's a branding characteristic of the vehicle. kind of expresses the personality.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
Mhm.
So, yes, music is
Definitely.
international, and I used to try to get that across to my students. And some of them say, well, I don't want to be a music teacher. I said, I'm not trying to get you to be a music teacher. I'm trying to get you to be a good music consumer so you don't spend your money on something that's worthless. And so that
Exactly.
you can figure out what you like and get what you like and not have to,
Definitely.
pay a big bucks for something and find out that there's only one song on that whole album that you like and you spent $20 on that album.
And the rest of it's just a bunch of fluff that you never listen to again.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So,
just sad.
but I mean, that's all. But I did expect my students to learn music, learn what a melody is and learn really how to write a melody if they, if possible. I wanted them to experience playing as many different instruments as possible. And in Boulder Valley, we had keyboards, and this is in the elementary too, by the way. We had
Fun.
keyboard sets, and we had guitar sets, and we had hand chimes or handbells, and we just had a lot of instruments that the kids could play, so they could experience. And that's what you need to do is experience music, because that will make you a very good consumer of music.
That is one of the best things, and I think that's a good walk-away quote, big time. So how did you first actually hear about what was Audio Information Network, now AfterSight, in the very, very first place?
I trained to because I wanted to do something after I retired from teaching, and I had talked to several people who had taken training with the spellbinder storytellers. And so I trained to be a spellbinder storyteller. Because I was still teaching part-time, it was difficult for me to find a place to go storytell once a week or once a month or something. They always wanted you in the afternoon. Well, I was teaching in the afternoon, so it was difficult. And one of the spellbinders, told me that she started out with AINC as a storyteller. I don't know how many years ago it was, but that's how she got started there. And then she went from there. That gave her the experience to go out into the classroom, into the nursing homes, to the libraries and stuff like that, and be a good storyteller. So I thought, well, okay, I'll call and see what I have to do. And I called and talked to Kat, and she invited me to come in for an audition. And I did it in the old studios up there in Boulder Valley on Arapahoe, and it was enlightening. I found so much fun. The thing that she had me, the article that she had me to read, it was just fun to read. And so she went through it, and because of my upbringing, some of my pronunciations were improper. Like I said Nevada, and I had to change to Nevada. There were a couple other things that I had to learn. Yeah, some of the words in towns names in Colorado are really Native American and stuff like that. Boy, they are hard to pronounce, and so I have to go listen to them over and over so that I can pronounce them properly. But I don't do storytelling anymore because I enjoy doing this reading so much. And of course, I love to read to the grandkids, and I loved reading to my kids. And I did read in my music classroom too. I used books a lot in my music classroom. So this broadcast is just it's just what I needed.
Absolutely.
I was just so happy when Kat said, "Yes, we can use you." So so that's how I got into it.
Did she start you off with the Grand Junction Sentinel?
Yes.
Nice.
I've not done anything other than subbing. I've subbed for some other newspapers, and I have volunteered for the Maine Lioner, which has been interesting to read too. I mean, that is just on the Maine Lioner. You get to see all the things that the Lions Club does on this side of the state, at least.
Yeah.
I think it's all I've ever read is just the east side. And then I love to sub for other things, but I get really nervous when I'm subbing for another newspaper because it's always different, and you go in and you have to figure out where things are and what to read and how to read it. And it's a little nerve-wracking to sub. It really is.
Yeah, and the formatting of each paper is so different because like the publishers work differently. Especially if you're reading the online version, the website looks different from paper to paper. It's like a nightmare.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I always feel good when I finish because I've helped somebody, I've helped somebody else. Because when I have to have a sub, somebody subs for me, and I so appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Would you say reading the Grand Junction Sentinel, I mean, would you say that's kind of taught you a little bit about that particular area in a way?
Yes, one of these summers when I have, some time, I'd like to go to Grand Junction and find, like maybe an Airbnb or something like that and stay for about 2 weeks and just walk around the town. Grand Junction is just, it seems to be very walkable. Has lots of paths and places, to go. The lakes and the rivers it just seems magnificent. I did do back in the day a 5K 2 times there in Grand Junction. I can't remember what the event was, but I did a 5K, and it was just wonderful. The short time that we were there, I have been to the Moab, and it's really beautiful. And
it is.
So yes, I'd like to go to. I don't drink wine or anything like that, but I would love to go to the wineries and just because they have the wine festival, and there's always so much information about it. And then the peach festival, and it's just there's just a lot of things happening in Grand Junction that really sounds cool.
It does.
And I also love reading about the school district, all the things that they're doing in their school district. It's just really interesting to me.
It is. Grand Junction almost feels like its own. It's so far from everything else on the other side of Colorado. It almost feels like its own state, honestly.
Well,
like
it's big. Just I think that's another reason why I want to go and see really how big it is. And it was really funny. You read the addresses, and I kept thinking, why would they call this Road 129 and Road 6B and stuff like that? And there was an article about 2 years ago where they explained how all the streets were named, and it's just amazing and made so much sense. And now when I read the addresses, I kind of know what they're talking about. So
that's cool. So it's an educational opportunity for you too at the same time.
Absolutely. And they've just got a lot going there. And I think that except for the heat, I think it'd be really cool to live there. But I'm at an age right now that I'm settled where I am, and I'm enjoying my life right here, right now.
Totally fair. But it is definitely worth visiting, and honestly, like Main Street's super, like that's kind of an essential place to just walk along. One of my favorite places too actually was Triple Play Vinyl, and it's a record store. It's where I got my first turntable and a copy of The Dark Side of the Moon and a bunch of stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, we have 3,000 vinyl albums here at my house, and we've been trying to find some place to take them without having to throw them in the trash. So thank you for that name. I will call them and find out if they can help us disperse some of our vinyls. Some of them haven't even been opened, and they're from the 90s and early 2000s. So.
Well, hey, but I might have to get in touch with you after the fact because I'm trying to look for some things. We'll have to talk about that after off air because I love vinyl stuff. Speaking of records and recording things, can we talk a little bit about? Okay, first of all, your audio quality is really good. Obviously, I mentioned that at the beginning. What are you using to record? Hardware-wise?
Kat set me up. I was using audio. It's been so long. I used it as when I was teaching because it was just easy to tape the kids singing and tape them playing and stuff like that. And when Kat said that that's what they used, why can't I remember the name? Audacity, right? Audacity, because it was free, and as a teacher, as a music teacher, you don't have much of a budget, so anything free you grab. And I used Audacity, and then I got a new computer. An Apple computer, and
nice.
Audacity was not free. So I asked Kat if there was something that I could use, and she showed me Voice
Record Pro,
Voice
I think.
Record, yes, and that's what I've been using since. I do use my headphones, and I think I get a better quality on the headphones with that when I'm doing it, on my telephone. I have not been successful using Voice Record on my computer. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to get it to work. Because I have all Apple products, I record it on my phone. I send it or I airdrop it to my computer. And then from the computer, I just go to your site. I can edit it on my phone. And it's not easy. That's why I put it on my computer. I thought it'd be easier to edit on my computer. But I can't seem to get it to work on my computer. So I edit on my phone. And it's not too bad. Sometimes it takes a little while to get out some spaces, or if I've coughed,
Yeah.
I need to take that out. One time I didn't realize I had this is when I first started, that I was pausing too long. I turned it off and then turned it back on. You say pause and then you say, resume. But I was having too much space. And so that one time I learned that I had to keep speaking because I would have too much of a break and it would just be like a dead space. And you don't want any dead space. That's what you don't want, is dead space. After doing programs for music, music programs, you've got to go, this song has to go right into the next song, and then this group has to go into the next group, because you've got dead space. You lose the audience and they start talking.
Yep, exactly. And it can happen within the span of like half a second.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, I try to edit like that so that I don't have a lot of dead space in there. Then, I just take it to your site, to the to your portal, and drop it in, and it's real easy. I can do it. I can do my broadcast. I try to stop at 54 minutes, which is really hard for me because sometimes I'm in the middle of an article, and so I have to say, I'm sorry, I must end this article due to time constraints. And it's hard to not be able to finish the article for the people, but that's what it is. So.
Right.
But that it's really easy to do from my phone. I talked to you about putting some sound things around my desk. I haven't got that yet because they're really expensive.
They are.
So I haven't gotten anything, but that's my goal, is to have some kind of a thing so that I sound more
up close.
Yes, and I don't have that feeling of being in a well.
Yeah. I like that analogy. I might actually stick with that one, because this office actually doesn't have sound dampening either yet, and I need to get some here. But it's that kind of like very slight echo, and even if your ears aren't trained to pick it up, your brain will pick it up, and you'll notice it, and it'll just change your perception of audio. But Apple nails, I always say this all the time, Apple really does, I feel like, nail audio quality.
Well, if you think about it, the very first, first Apples, we've had Apple since day one, and the Apple was what had the music programs. Eventually, within a year or two, Microsoft or Unix or whatever Windows, they were called, the Windows. That's right. Windows came out with their audio stuff, which was comparable. It wasn't bad at all. But we have stuck with Apples from day one. And of course, in teaching, I couldn't use an Apple most of the time. I had to use Windows or something like that. Now they have names for writing programs. I had to write my own math program, my own language arts program, or something like that back in the late 70s and early 80s.
That's cool, though. Coming from a technical standpoint.
Well, it made it easier for me to go from one platform to another, and of course, it also made other teachers. How can you do that? I don't know how I do it.
just figure it out until you get the solution.
Yeah. So I technology is something I've always enjoyed. I'm better with software than I am with hardware, though. And maybe that's why I like the broadcast thing, because I feel like I'm still doing technology. I'm still working with technology.
You totally are, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. So So yeah,
God.
that's kind of again some more part of my background. It tells you how old I am, though.
Well, yeah, but you got experiences. In fact, experiences I kind of wish I had had. You probably, I imagine, got to experience the joys of things like the Apple II GS, which was the very first Apple computer to have graphics and sound and musical capabilities.
Right, and Apple had a mouse, and Windows did not. And so the fun thing was I could do an Apple without a mouse, and that would always impress people. But basically, it's just using your command keys, and you don't need a mouse. But I found out that I do need, especially when I was working with the Windows platform where they had just use a mouse pad.
Yep.
That my fingertips were too sensitive or something. Let's put it this way: Boulder Valley had to break down and get me a mouse to use, and I'm pretty sure they probably had to get a lot of other people mouse, because some people's fingertips they touch that pad, and it immediately does something. Not on an Apple, but on the
just on a computer in general.
With the Chrome and all those others. Those computers in general.
Annoying.
And so, but it just was my fingertips. That was all. And I still could do it. It just was frustrating to just put my finger down to move the mouse, and the mouse clicks, and something comes up, and that's not what I want. So I do like using a mouse. It gives me more control.
Yep. And as a screen reader user, I do have to say, I pretty much use 100% keyboard. In fact, I don't know if this mouse works. Actually, no, it does work. I had to throw that bit of trivia in because a lot of people, think, oh yeah, you just click around. I mean, you can read, a screen reader. Mm-hmm. You can access the computer with the mouse with a screen reader. It's just a lot slower.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And keyboard shortcuts are such a...
They're fast.
They are.
I mean, you just go click, that's it. You got it.
Yeah. Once you get the hang of it, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, goodness. Linda, thank you so much for joining me under the spotlight, and thank you for the fun conversations. This has been a blast of an episode.
Oh, really thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate the honor. I don't even really know how long I've been reading, because it's just been something that I've enjoyed doing, and I haven't kept track. I do miss the yearly things that we used to have before the pandemic. Once a year, everybody would get together in a big auditorium, and we would watch videos of things and get to know other people, other readers. And we don't get to do that anymore. So it was probably expensive too, but I did enjoy getting to know other readers and what they read and why they got into it and everything like that. Of course, what you're doing right now is the same thing,
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of why I started doing this, is so that volunteers got to hear other volunteers. But that being said, actually, we did stop doing those lunch-in kind of things because we felt like they were just too big and not genuine enough. It was just kind of like a big, huge celebration. But I'm glad you got value out of that. And I must say, we do have coming up here in August, we will actually be putting announcements out for it, an ice cream social at the Aftersight office. And it's pretty much, it's a very similar thing to the luncheons, but a little bit more low key and easier for us to manage. And plus, we get to walk around and meet volunteers. And that's personally, as an audio engineer here, one of my favorite things is to go and chit chat with volunteers and talk their faces off.
Well, I like your new offices very much. It's not that I didn't like Boulder at all. It's just that the new offices look new.
They do.
Up to date.
I'll be honest, I tolerated the Boulder office, but I don't like navigating around the Boulder area. That particular area by Arapahoe 55th, it was old. It looked like it was falling apart. So.
Well, it was definitely. I mean, my bank was right there across the parking lot from your office. So I was down on that end a lot. I just lived there for 36 years, I think 36 or 37 years, and just got used to Boulder. And so it wasn't hard. It's not hard for me to get around. But I did mostly biking when I lived in Boulder. So,
but it's a light industrial space in comparison to an actual office building with windows and things.
and you've got trees.
Yeah,
Beautiful
we got
trees. It's lovely. Yeah, your parking lot is nice too, and it's easy to get to once you figure out how to get back into that little, into the little area. But it is it's just less stress getting to getting there than it was in Boulder. So
that's exactly what I want to hear. That makes me happy. Thank you for that feedback, for sure. And speaking of feedback, if you've got any feedback for this show, or if you're listening to any of our other podcasts, please let us know. Please send an email to feedback@aftersight.org, or leave a voicemail for Jonathan, our podcast producer, at 720-712-8856. Thank you again, Linda, for joining me under the volunteer spotlight today.
you're welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for listening to the Volunteer Spotlight. I'm your host and lead audio technician, Evan Starnes, and I will talk to you guys again in a month.